we are pointing out some mistake of the supplier or maybe the service provider. Nature of loss or inconvenience experienced by the buyer. This is a formal letter you are writing, so make sure you are writing official address only. How well the buyer identifies it and how well the supplier corrects it. So this is nothing but a settlement. Whatever the buyer has requested for, those goods are not supplied. There is a wrong supply of goods. Maybe that is an issue. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we are here to understand one of the letters that is prescribed by University of Mysore for 4th Sem B.B.A. We'll be understanding this under the business correspondence section of yours. Okay, that is section A of yours. So let us begin the session. Let us understand what is there in today's module. We will be understanding about complaints and settlements today. How to write a complaint and how to write a letter for settlement. So what is there in today's module? We'll be understanding about the meaning of complaint. Then what is the meaning of settlement? What are the causes for writing these two letters? And also what are the contents that should be there in these two letters? And also the format. We'll be understanding how to write a complaint letter as well as the settlement letter. We will also look at a sample complaint and a sample settlement here. Okay, so let us begin our session by understanding the meaning of complaint. Okay, so let us first understand what is the meaning of complaint here. Okay. So what is the meaning of a complaint? This is a statement that is used to point out an error or defect of any service. So suppose I am delivering some goods or something. So there is some issue with that. So then there comes a complaint. Okay. We are pointing out some mistake of the supplier or maybe the service provider. Okay, so that is nothing but a complaint. It is actually a protest against the inefficient service that is given by the supplier. Okay, so this is an inefficient service and also this is sent from the buyer's end. So whoever is the supplier, that person will be committing a mistake and the person who is buying it will be giving the complaint. That means he will be identifying the error and he will be pointing it out. Okay, so this is a complaint and this will actually be followed by a claim or maybe a demand to correct this mistake. Okay, so whatever mistake that supplier has done, so that has to be corrected and the buyer actually claims for it. Okay, it can be a written claim or it can be some correction claim that the buyer is requesting. So this, in order to claim that the correction of this error. Okay, so that is actually requested by the buyer. So this is the nature of a complaint. Okay, so how is the settlement? What is a settlement? So this is also known as an adjustment. Okay, settlement is also known as an adjustment. There are some minor changes which buyer has to adjust. Okay, so and that at the same time the supplier also will have to correct the mistake. Okay, so this whatever actions that the supplier takes is called as an adjustment. So the process of correcting or refusing the mistake is called as a settlement. Okay, so the how well the supplier corrects his mistake. Okay, how well the buyer identifies it and how well the supplier corrects it. So this is nothing but a settlement. Okay, so this is the meaning of complaint and a settlement. So we'll now go further. When do we write this complaint? So what are the reasons for any buyer to write the complaint? Okay, so whenever there is a supply of wrong goods, okay, whatever the buyer has requested for, those goods are not supplied. There is a wrong supply of goods. Maybe that is an issue or maybe a supply of low quality goods is there. Okay, so whatever the goods are supplied, actually that is of low quality. So that may be identified by the buyer. Okay, or it also may be the supply of damaged goods. Whatever goods that are supplied to the buyer is actually damaged. Okay, that also may be a reason wherein the buyer has to write a complaint. Okay, or maybe there is a delay in supply of goods and services. Okay, so this also is another reason for them to write a complaint, or maybe a mistake in calculation. So maybe the supplier has actually calculated a higher amount or maybe a lower amount. Okay, so whenever there is a difference in calculation of amount or maybe the supply of goods, so that time also there may be a complaint that can be raised. Okay, difference in terms and conditions of payment. Okay, so whenever there is a payment also, there may be some differences and this mistake can be identified. Okay, so whenever the word complaint comes to your mind, you should not always think that it has to be on a wrong part. It can be a very small mistake also that can be identified, and that whatever identification the buyer does and whatever small mistake also he brings it to the notice of the supplier, that is actually called as a complaint. Okay, you need not have to always think that it has to go to the police station or whatever. Okay, complaint, whenever you get this complaint in your mind, you always think of a police station, any legal thing. Okay, so complaint is also the letter that is written to the supplier by identifying the mistake done by the supplier. This has a very smaller meaning also. Okay, so these are few reasons wherein the buyer can write complaints to the supplier, okay, in order to correct the mistakes. So what next? The content, what should be there in the complaint letter? What are the actual things that should be there in the complaint letter is what we are going to understand now. Okay, so what are the contents? So statement thanking the seller for delivery. You cannot just begin the letter abruptly. Okay, you cannot just say, see, this is your mistake, this is what you have to do. No, you should not be doing it. You should actually thank the person who has delivered the goods on time. So first you will state thanks to the supplier. Okay, so he has delivered the goods on time. Okay, suppose it is on time and there is a wrong supply, so that time you just first have to thank the seller. Okay, so statement with regret, drawing the sender's attention to the cause of the complaint. Okay, with regret you will write a statement wherein it shows what is the mistake of the seller. So you would have identified maybe there is a wrong supply of goods. First you thank that seller for supplying the goods on time, then you regret that there is a wrong supply of goods. Okay, suppose it's a late delivery. Okay, you thank the seller for delivery and then you tell him that this is the issue. Okay, suppose the goods have not arrived at all. So then you have to thank him for accepting the order and you have to tell him that there is a delay in supply. The goods have not reached yet, so I am cancelling the order. So we'll be learning how to cancel the order when we learn about the cancellation letters. Okay, so here we are only dealing with complaint letter. Okay, so yes, so now here it is only the identification of mistake done by the seller. Fine. So with regret you tell him the cause of the complaint. Fine. Then reference of the order placed. So whenever you write a letter, you give a number to that. So whenever there is an order placed, there will be a number given to the order. Okay, so here you also have to give reference of that order that is placed. Okay, there will be usually a number given, so you have to write that as the reference number here. Okay, you need to write this reference in order to make the seller aware what you are talking about. Okay, so you need to make it clear to him what you're talking about, which is the order you're talking about. Maybe there is a bulk order. Okay, maybe you have placed 5 to 6 orders and one of the orders there is a mistake and only one of the orders you need to raise a complaint. Okay, so that time mentioning of order number is very much important. Okay, so order number is important. Then cause of the complaint to be stated clearly. Here you would have already told what is the cause of the complaint, means you've already stated it, but you need to talk about it in detail. Okay, so here you will be talking about it in detail, what and all has happened. Okay, so cause of the complaint should be very clearly mentioned here. Next, nature of loss or inconvenience experienced by the buyer. Suppose you are the buyer, you will tell the supplier what and all are the inconveniences you have faced, what and all are the losses you have experienced. Okay, so suppose there is a delay in delivery, then you would have faced lot of loss because you are not able to supply it to the people on time. So you might have incurred some loss in your business. Okay, suppose there is a wrong supply of goods, then also you face some loss or inconvenience because you will not be able to deliver the same thing to your customers on time. So keeping all this in mind, the nature of loss or inconvenience have to be stated clearly to the buyer. Okay, so suppose you do this clearly, then the supplier will be very clear how to negotiate it, how to do the settlement. Okay, so buyer should state the loss or inconvenience experienced by him in a very clear way. Then expectation of the buyer towards the rectification of the mistake. So how would the buyer want the supplier to rectify this mistake. So you have identified the mistake here, then you are requesting, you are expecting that supplier to correct this mistake. Okay, suppose there is a wrong supply of goods, maybe you will want him to supply the correct ones. Suppose there is a damaged item, maybe you would want him to supply the proper ones. Okay, so this way you may want him to correct some of his mistakes. Okay, so this way you need to make it clear what you are expecting from the seller. Okay, so this is the expectation what you write. Then polite request for prompt action. So whatever you are expecting over here, there should be a polite request requesting the seller to correct it. Like it should be a very polite request put before the seller in order to correct his mistake. Whatever you want him to do, the same thing you have to put it in a very polite way. Okay, so these should be the contents in the complaint letter. Okay, so then to move on, we will just see the format of a complaint letter. Okay, so yes, first it should start with the name of the company. Okay, so name of the company should be there and that should be written in the center of the box. Okay, so that will be name of the organization will be written in the center. Then it has to be there, the phone and mail ID, if at all it is there, it should be there. And fax also few people will have, that also can be included. Apart from that, you need to have buyer's address. Okay, so name will be here, address will be here. Then obviously date will be here. Date has to be in an elaborate form as you have written. For example, if it is 20th May, okay, then you will write it like this. So this way date has to be there. Then the recipient's name, that means the seller's name and address you have to write. Okay, you know the name, write the name, please write the designation also. Okay, you don't know the name, please write only the designation and the address of the recipient. So this is a formal letter you are writing, so make sure you are writing official address only. Okay, so here also you are writing official address, here also you are writing an official address only. So let me just tell you, though this is a formal letter, since you may write it in the form of a letterhead. Okay, so keep that in mind. Fine, you are writing it in the form of a letterhead. So you will start with the name of the company. You will not start from the left hand side, you will change the format a little. So all others are left aligned, only date and address will be on the right side. Fine. So here is the recipient's address. Then we have the salutation. You have dear sir or madam or something like that. So salutation will be there. Next we have the subject line. Okay. So here you will give a short heading of why you are writing this letter. What is there in this letter, so that the recipient of this letter will be very clear. He will be prepared to know what is there. Okay, so he'll be mentally prepared to understand the mistake. Fine. Please do not write the whole letter in that subject line only. Mention it in a very short way. So that should be there in the subject line. Here is the main content. Okay. So here you will start with the introduction, then the actual content, then the closing. So as we saw earlier, it should begin with a thank you note. Then it will, then you have to write about the what kind of mistake has happened over there. Then how would you expect that person to correct it? Then comes the closing. Okay. So all this content will be included in the body of the letter. Fine. Then we have this closing salutation, means thanking you, yours faithfully, like this. Okay. So thanking you will be there, and also here for, like you are holding a position and you are signing on behalf of the company. Okay. Suppose you are not the owner of the company and you hold a position there wherein you can negotiate things. Okay. So in that case you will write for, means on behalf of the buyer you are signing. Okay. So you will write buyer's name, means for the company name, and then comes the designation. Okay. So for you will write in one line and you will write the designation in another line. Okay. So yes, if you are the assistant manager there, you are not the owner of it, you will write assistant manager. Okay. Suppose you are the proprietor, then you will write as proprietor only. Suppose you are the only signing authority, then you will also write that the signing authority only. Okay. So on behalf of this company, you are signing it, because company cannot come and sign, isn't it? So there will be an authorized person who has to sign. So this way you are going to sign it. So this is the format of a complaint letter. Okay. So we'll now move on to the sample complaint letter. So one of the samples is here. You have to write a letter to Maruti Maruti Bookstore, and this you know, right? Messrs means many people together are running it. Fine. So Messrs Maruti Bookstore, Lansdowne Building, Mysore, complaining dispatch of defective goods. You are Madhukar, partner, Alphabet Learning Limited. So this is the name of the person. This is the designation of the person. Okay. Of which company? So this person is working in this company. Okay. So now you have all the details. You have the cause also. Dispatch of defective goods is the cause. Okay. And the person who has supplied is Maruti Bookstore, Lansdowne Building, Mysore. Okay. So this way you have to write a letter. So we'll look at the sample complaint letter written by these people. So here it starts from the name of the company. So what did you see? It was Mr. Madhukar who had to write the letter. Okay. On behalf of Alphabet Learning Limited. Fine. So here is the name of the company in the middle. So then we have the phone number, that is contact number, and the mail ID. Okay. So there is no fax over here. I have just included phone number as well as the mail ID. Fine. Then we have the address. Okay. The address of this company. Then we have the date. So next we have the recipient's address. We are not writing it to any particular person. I am not using any designation, because earlier what was the question given? I was supposed to write a letter to Messrs Maruti Bookstore. Okay. So I have not been given any designation there. So I am not using any designation. I am just writing the name of the bookstore. Fine. Then, dear sir, so this is the salutation. Then what is the cause? That means the subject. Defective and damaged books are being supplied. Okay. So you are not writing the whole content there. You are just mentioning what it is. Okay. So as soon as the person, that is from Maruti Bookstore, as soon as the person sees the letter, he will know, yes, this is the mistake we have done. So he will want to know the details. So he will go through the letter now. Okay. So as I told you, this letter has to start with a thank you note. Okay. Because that person has supplied it in time. So what is it? Thank you very much for the dispatch of 16 books on business communication. So this is the name of the textbook or the name of the book that this one Alphabet Learning Company has ordered and it has got it delivered. Okay. So they have already thanked for dispatch of 16 books on this, and as per our PO number, purchase order, this is okay. So purchase order number MBC 717. So this number, this MBS 717 will be given by Mrs. Maruti Bookstore whenever this person has placed an order. Okay. So this is the purchase order number. So here you are drawing the Maruti Bookstore's attention towards the order number MBS 77. Okay. And also you are mentioning the date of order. Okay. So here that person is very clear. Now Maruti Bookstore is clear that this person, that is Alphabet Learning Company, is talking about this order. So they will also bring all the necessary details that are there. Okay. So what is the problem here? What is the actual complaint letter? See, that is the what is the mistake that has been done. Upon going through these books, we found that one of the copies sent by you is incomplete, as 20 pages, that is from pages 45 to 64 are missing. Okay. So here one is incomplete. That means there are some pages which are missing and another 2 copies are badly damaged. So there is defective as well as damaged supply of goods. Okay. So these are the mistakes done by Maruti Bookstore. Okay. So this person has clearly stated the mistake. Okay. So he has clearly brought it to the notice of the supplier. Fine. Now, kindly let us know immediately. So now he is requesting, see, look at the polite words. Kindly let us know immediately whether the order should be sent back so that the defective copies shall be replaced. Now it is very clear that what has to be done. So I want this to be replaced. I want a replacement of the defective books. We want defect free copies. Okay. So that is what I want it. That is what I am requesting you to do. Okay. So now it is very clear what is the mistake, which order I am talking about, what is the mistake, and what I want you to do, what I am expecting you to do. Okay. So this is the chronology. Then we have this sample sorry, we have this closing salutation. Okay, then we have this whatever the recipient's designation and all has to be written. So that is here. Okay. So on behalf of Alphabet Learning Limited, Madhukar is writing, who is a partner. Okay. So Madhukar on behalf of Alphabet Learning Company, who is the partner, is signing over here. Okay. So this is the format of a complaint letter. Okay. So this is how you write a complaint letter. Okay. So look at the language. It is very formal. At the same time, it is very courteous also. Okay. And all the details are very much clear. Which book you're talking about, which is the order number you're talking about, and what has happened and what you want them to do. What are you expecting them to do? Fine. So this is what is the best letter you can write. Okay. So now we'll move on to a sample reply letter or a settlement letter. Fine. How do you write a reply to the complaint letter? Okay. So yes, complaint letter we saw the format. Reply letter also will be more or less the formal letter what you have already learned. Okay. So here is the sample of the reply letter. Now the person who is writing the letter will be different. Who is it? It is again Maruti Bookstore. Okay. So the letterhead will be of Maruti Bookstore side. Then that address will be here. Fine. Then that address of this Maruti Bookstore will be here. Okay. So date is already here. Then we can see the recipient has changed now. Earlier, whoever had brought the complaint to the notice of Maruti Bookstore will be now the recipient. Okay. Because it's a reply letter. Fine. So now here is the address of the recipient. Okay. So here he becomes the recipient. Now we have the this one salutation also. Then what is he talking about? Okay, he's talking about replacement of defective books. Earlier it was defective and damaged books, but now since it is a reply, he's talking about replacement of these defective books. Fine. Here also let us see how the letter is written. We thank you for your letter dated April 1st, 2022. So they are very happy that this has been brought to the notice because they can improve their service. Okay. So you cannot just very rudely say that no, we have not done the mistake. Okay. So if at all it has to be done also, it has to be done very courteously. Okay. So here this person has started with a thank you note. Okay. Thanks for bringing it to our notice. Then we are sorry to know that you have received 2 damaged and 1 incomplete copy of business communication. Again, there is an apology because there is a mistake from their end. Okay. So there is an apology here. Then what does he want to do? What is he willing to do? How he can correct his mistake? Kindly return those copies. So he has asked them to return those copies so that we can with great pleasure replace them immediately. Okay. So here that is Maruti Bookstore has requested them to return the copies. Okay. So at the same time, whenever they ask them to return, there will be a question like, what about the postal charges? Okay. So they have to send it back. Then again from that side, shipping charges have to be paid. So what about the postal charges or the shipping charges will come to their mind. For that also this person has suggested, has given a suggestion here. We are very sorry for the inconvenience caused. Again, there is an apology. However, we assure you that such unfavorable incidents will not occur in the future. So they are giving an assurance that this unfavorable incident will never occur in future. That means they are open to suggestion. They are ready to improve their service. Okay. So now they are ready to improve their service. They are very happy also about it. So what will they do? We shall by all means bear the postage expenses both ways. So they are ready to pay for postage expenses also. Whatever the shipping charges are, they are ready to pay for that also. That too both the ways. Means they have to return it and they have to replace it. Fine. So this is actually another assurance. Okay. So here this letter shows that the person, that is Maruti Bookstore, the person who is writing it is actually very courteous. He is ready to improve his services. Okay. So now whatever mistake has happened, he is going to improve his service. He is promising his client actually to give a very improved service. Okay. And a better service. Then we have this closing salutation. Okay. Then we end it here. Yours faithfully for Maruti Book. Then Ramnath is writing, who is a partner. Okay. So here somebody has to sign. Okay, so though nobody's name is given there, Maruti bookstore, nobody's name is given there. Okay, so the person in charge will be writing this. Initially in complaint letter, you did not see Mr. Ramnath's name. Why is that so? Because we don't know whose notice should this be brought to. Okay, suppose if I am writing a letter for leave application, suppose if I am applying for leave, I know whom to address it to, because I know who I report to. Okay, I report to my principal, so obviously I'll be writing it to my principal. But here, since it's a complaint letter, their organization structure is not known by the receiver. Okay, that is the buyer. So what the buyer does, he just addresses it to Messrs. Maruti Bookstore. But now here, Maruti Bookstore cannot write the letter. Okay, there is one person who is in charge of all these. Okay, so that person is writing this letter, that is Ramnath, who is the partner of Maruti Bookstore. Okay, so now this person has written, he has assured that he will be replacing the order. Okay, so this is how you write a complaint and how you write a settlement letter. Okay, so now that you saw a sample of a complaint and a sample letter, that's a settlement letter. Okay, settlement can be in many ways. Okay, suppose there are damaged goods and you cannot replace it at all. Okay, suppose the person, that is Maruti Bookstore, is not ready to replace at all. Okay, suppose they only don't have stock to replace. So what do? They will ask them to return it and maybe they will pay the money back. Okay, so now it's a that is online trading is actually trending, and you may be knowing all these, isn't it? You buy something, you're not satisfied, you return it. Okay, now you need not have to write any complaint or anything for that. Okay, but this is written in the form of a letter in order to have a record. Okay, suppose you're complaining about something, you have a record that I have brought it to your notice. Okay, so all this will be useful whenever there is no proper settlement and you may have to move to legal part. Okay, so that time these letters will be actually very useful. So knowing this letter format is actually very helpful for you. Okay, so this was all about the complaints and settlements. Hoping this session was very useful to you. Let us meet again in another type of letter prescribed by the university under your business correspondence. Okay, so let us meet again shortly. Please go through the video, make notes. Any doubts, we are always here to clarify your doubts in the physical classes. So see you soon, children. Keep learning. Take care. Most importantly, stay safe. Bye-bye.